You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Friday show with the grain market update with K State grain economist Dan O'Brien. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Shelby.
Dan, starting off our conversation, talking about the weather today and the potential impacts it can have for the market as we near finishing.
Right. As we come closer to finishing out the U.S., well, we're marching towards finishing out the U.S. corn and soybean crops and sorghum crops. Uh, of course, we've taken in the different independent tours. One in particular came out and was very optimistic for U.S. average corn yields and especially for soybean yields. And so I guess no doubt we're heading for a large crop. Just a matter of, well, I shouldn't say no doubt. There's never no doubt that something bad would happen, but gosh, it'd have to be massive derechos and windstorms, all sorts of things. Right now, there's enough moisture around that, especially in the heart of the Corn Belt, Iowa, Illinois, in particular, we've got great crops coming in. Generally, elsewhere, looking like we're going to be pretty good. But we have some hot, dry weather forecasts to come in here in the U.S. that can probably may shave the top end off of those yields. And I think that the type of supply demand balance sheets that the market and USDA is putting together are they're built on the presumption of large supplies, low prices, encouraging usage, and with that at least moderately good usage, okay ending stocks. 2.1 billion bushels of corn, actually 560 plus million bushels of soybeans projected. So if we come in and if the low prices that have come in so far end up in support usage, ethanol doing pretty good, even some exports starting to move now, livestock feed usage not hurt by low prices. If that all continues, then if we shave 1, 2, 300, 400 million bushels, let's say 1 or 200 million off of corn and some amount, 50, 100, 150 million off of soybeans, then we're moderating somewhat the amount of ending stocks that we'll ultimately think we have. So we've got that happening weather-wise, and of course that aims us towards here we're talking here today on Friday the 30th, and literally in the fields on Sunday, the USDA will be out in the field starting to measure what the crop looks like. So if the dry weather is still to come in starting this week, but heading off into the first couple weeks of September, we are likely to not see the impact of any shaving of those record high yield expectations that the USDA came out with on August 12th until we get past the September report off into October. So I know anybody that has listened to us discuss these issues would say, well, that those folks, they keep saying that all this is eventually coming, but that's sort of the way the year is working out. So I think I believe the September 12th report, crop production report, WASDE report, they'll show what's happening on September 1st. And then after that, the next go around for the fall harvested crops will be what they measure and see on October 1. And by then we'll have started harvest in many areas, and we'll see where all that goes. So I realize that's those farmers that have held corn and sorghum and other crops this long, hoping for a rally, that'd be a source of consternation that that finally we get something happening in the market, and maybe they've already moved the crop. But that's just the type of a large crop expectation year that we're in, and it's sure been I guess I'd say it's been a challenge to see many things positive in terms of the traditional storing of grain type of strategy that we have used year in and year out here in Kansas.
Dan, looking at the grain market, what are we seeing for futures?
Oh, you'll cut that out. With regard to futures, we saw on Thursday, the 29th, yesterday, that again, September closed at at 371 3/4. It was actually, after such a run of being down for corn, it was actually up 6 cents, which is sort of a breath of fresh air given where things are at. Dees corn still at 396, still below 4. So that's really what we're kind of hovering around right now until we have better information. And then you sure do see carry in the market. And we've talked about that last week, from the September to the December contract. Just a little over 8 cents a bushel per month, and then 6 cents from D's through the March contract, March to May, 5 cents, and then it falls off. For soybeans, we saw the markets go up 15 cents yesterday. Of course, there's production issues, but there's also some really strong exports that we can talk about too that are coming into play now. But September, 973 3/4 yesterday. In November, 992 and a half, so up 9 cents carry. And then from November to January, a little over 8 cents. From January to March, over 7 cents. March to May, almost 7 cents again, and then 5 cents the next rollover from May to July. So the market is still, even with some of the little bit better news we've seen of late, still giving every signal to store these crops and off down into sometime in the future. And wheat even showed some positive in all of this. Saw the September contract for hard red winter wheat yesterday closed at 545 and a half. D's at 560, so carry of 5 cents. Of course, we in our part of the world, we've harvested that crop, 2-3 months ago. But for anybody still holding it, you've got 5 cent carry from September to D's, 4 1/4 D's to March, and from there on. The challenge is the amount of the cost of storage, and maybe on farm storage, you're probably covering that. But anybody in commercial storage, 5-6 cents a bushel per month is hoping for something far better than that.
What are we seeing on the cash side of things?
Cash prices still, some areas of the state showing strong basis, I guess, in Garden City area, corn market 65 over. The next strongest market in that is just to the north, up in northwest Kansas, 29 over for spot corn market at 401, 437 in Garden City, and then Hutchinson also at 401, 29 over, and then other places in Salina, Topeka, 360, 382 for Salina, 366 Topeka, lesser basis levels. So cash markets overall not changing a lot. It is interesting with a recent purchase in grain sorghum that you've seen a little bit more of a positive bump in basis. See the Salina basis at 16 over, 388 cash for sorghum, at 14 over in Hutchinson. And so you're going right up to south central Kansas, the central Kansas corridor, where we have a good amount of rail traffic, and so we have that happening at the same time that we've got a major purchase of grain sorghum coming from China coming into place. So those elevators perhaps are involved in that. If grain sorghum is going to come out of the United States, it's coming out of either Kansas or Texas or Oklahoma in large quantities. I wouldn't be surprised that our folks are involved in that. Soybean bid still struggling. Strongest one, 975, 1 over in there in Hutchinson, but everything else lesser than that. 968 in Topeka, 948 Salina, 966 in Columbus, and the weakest out in northwest Kansas at 894, just under 9. And the wheat bids still the best bid 555, 9 over in 9 over the September contract there in Hutchinson at 5 again. But most other areas weaker than that. Next highest Salina at 5 under at 540, and then you go from there. So really, and the bids we're looking at right now are out into next year for July of 2025, and those are uniformly running 35 to 40 under. Some places weaker than that. So the new crop bids are important because we're trying to gauge what our plantings will be, our seedings will be here in late September, early October, and on into October for hard red winter wheat. So we'll see. Those are generally lower than our our cost, full economic cost of production, but they're covering costs otherwise. They're covering direct costs. So we'll see what farmers do.
And Dan, you've mentioned exports a few times, so how are our current prices playing into that?
Well, lower prices have made us more competitive in world export markets, and here within the last well, in the last report that came out on as of August 22nd, we're sitting basically with about 370 million bushels sold ahead of this 2.3 billion that we've got, that the USDA is projecting for next year. So we're just entering into that. That's for corn, just beginning into that marketing year, and already 16% ahead sold. For grain sorghum, a little less than that, 5.6%. But we've just had a large sale to China that's not recorded in there yet. That just happened in the last few days. You look at the wheat market, and we frankly, the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been running ahead of schedule on wheat exports, and projected for the week ending August 22nd, 21 million bushels. We need a pace of about 16 meet the USDA's projection. This is an area we just haven't been in wheat of late. We actually have pretty good wheat exports. Had a pretty strong week of hard red exports, just over 5 million bushels. Need about 4.8 meet the USDA's projection, so that's good. Really strong week of hard red spring. And then finish up with discussion of soybeans. So we're about 20% of the way bought ahead on our way to next year's 1.85 billion bushels. And we read reports where now our prices have gotten low enough for corn and for soybeans that we're competitive with South American prices, which is sort of well, it's a place we haven't been of late, and China sure plays a major role in that. Is China going aggressively towards South America for geopolitical preferences or not? All in play, but you've seen that happen, and have seen often the co-products for soybeans some movement that's helped to move to well, in soybean oil at times of late here, soybean meal, but mainly soybean oil, all coming into play and helping to make soybeans stronger. I guess I finished up. Last thing I'd say is that it's a type of a time of year where we're looking to fine tune what are probably going to be large crops. We may be taking some of those numbers a little bit lower, and that might add some support here. But we still have this overall large crop scenario, and prices have gone low enough in our the general narrative of, gosh, large crops, low prices, that usage is being helped, and it's even getting to the place where internationally, along with the biofuels, but biofuel demand, that we're seeing usage hold up, and that's probably in the longer run going to be our issue that upholds us in terms of having our markets maintain stability and still give us profitability going on down the way. We can produce lots and lots of grain without question. It's just that, gracious, it's really important to have the usage side hold up and not give us overburdening ending stocks.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you very much, Shelby.
That was K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but we'll be right back.